All right. Welcome to the clusterfuck known as the Triglavian Times. Today we have the Chief Onion of Eve Onion, Opus Magnus, my CEO of My Corp and Alliance. I'm Sabat. We got Zero hiding from work, executor of Toast, and Kylon, his right hand man. And then
Hello.
we have CCP Aurora, the bringer back of AT,
Hello.
and the boundary violator and hoper of bringing back AT CCP Swift.
You could have gone with Coattail Rider too. That works.
So besides creating 420 hull destroyers, I know less than 10 covered a little bit with you. Kind of want to get your guys' opinion on finally getting AT back.
It's super exciting. I've been working up to this for over a year now, but it's also super stressful now that we're actually getting into it. So, I, in some ways, am super looking forward. I'm very excited for the feeders, but I'm also just like, can't wait for them to be over already because I am exhausted in this run up to it. So, a a good mix of emotions. I think it'll be really great though.
Yeah. No, I'm interested in it. We talked about it as Kyberdots a little bit, but we didn't want to do the investment of the ISK really. And none of us, we're all time zones, so none of us could really sit down and, I mean, we can't sit and practice all day. I don't know
Yeah, the
about
practice
Opus's
times can be
opinion,
pretty
but
rough.
I think Kybernauts will all be like, oh, we're all flying Kikimoras. Screw it. We'll be out first round.
Yeah, we did put a big point, like nerf, I guess, onto the Triglavian ships because they're so good, and we had to balance them somehow.
Yeah, I noticed on that. I mean, I love Mordu's Legion personally. I fly my Garmer around Pakvin a lot, especially Kino. I mean, I love those ships, so I'm happy that's happening for Mordu's Legion, but it's like, I don't have the time to practice all day.
Yeah, that's the one thing about the Alliance tournament is the people who are really into it get really into it, right? Like it's a microcosm of Eve in a way, where the people that try hard even harder, just to. I guess I don't know what it is. I don't think it's necessarily just the prizes. I think it's like bragging rights and swagger and just a little bit of everything and just like pride that you're number one at something in Eve Online.
Yeah, we saw it pretty well during the Alliance Open when there weren't, I mean, there were decent sized prizes on the line, but they were nowhere near like the typical Alliance tournament prize. And then same thing for Inger games, like the prize pool wasn't nearly the same size as what, the value that you can get out of those Alliance tournament ships. So they're definitely competing for something else. Uh, what exactly that is probably a bit unique to each of them, I guess.
Any winners of the AT and you want to sell me a frigate Mordu's Legion AT ship, I'll buy one off you.
Well,
It'll stay in station like my Marshall does.
the AT is like the original, tournament for Eve. I mean, it's the most longest running. It's the glorious. You represent your alliance. I mean, there's no other competition we've had in Eve. We've had some really great tournaments, but this is the original and the longest running. And to have it back, for me personally, I do love watching the AT. I do, enjoy watching these expensive fits that you can only get in the AT fly around and these comps, and I'm excited for it. And I hope others are too, and I know they are. And I know these guys that only play Eve really for this one time of the year, having this back is just means a lot to them.
Yeah, there are a lot of names that have seen in the last few months popping back that I hadn't seen super active in the last couple of years. And it's really, really nice to see that they're like still plugged into Eve and they're like, this is the one kick in the pants that they needed to get back into it. And they've been doing a lot of like random stuff to practice too. They haven't just been sitting on a test server. They've been going out in small gangs. They've been like goofing around, trying out new things. And it's just great to see them back in space. And then at the other hand, I got a message from someone who had started Eve after the Alliance tournament was on hiatus. And this was like his dream. He was like, oh man, I was watching like these old VODs. I kind of want to be there one day. And he was just like so excited that he gets his chance now. So he's like, he was telling me all about his practicing, and I was like, yeah, this is the coolest. I can't wait. So I've got my eye out for him specifically to see how he does. No pressure.
So we do, as our coalition, we do have Strybog participating. It'll be interesting to see how they do. Kind of wonder what they're trying to meta out and figure out what to do. And I don't know, it'll be interesting. I know test passed, but that's just an inside joke at this point.
My banter caught fire there during that little stream. Yeah, I feel like Strybog is just a little too easily countered. Like you ban out the Triglavian ships, and suddenly just they've got no practice in anything else.
Yeah, I can see that.
I don't know if that's
kidding.
so.
I'm mostly kidding.
The relationship with goons did bring a lot of new doctrines in, but
that's probably true. I actually know that they're really good pilots. And watching the Triglavian community come up with try and figure out all of the content during the invasion, and like how to maximize, and the new fits and stuff that they brought. It was always just like really cool. We were excited to see, how would they approach this next. So they're really some fantastic heads over there. And I'm actually hoping Strybot goes pretty far. I'd love to see them hit the main event. I think they're in the feeders this coming weekend.
Yep, they are.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things about the Alliance tournament. Like the different tactics that the teams use to get far into the tournament. Some teams are just like, we'll take the same setup over and over and just fly it better than anyone else can imagine. And then other teams are just like the complete opposite, where they're like, our like theory crafters put on their thinking caps and just didn't leave a closet for 2 weeks, and they came up with this amazing doctrine that'll just wow the pants off of you, and we'll bring a new one every single time we fly, so you don't know what to expect. And then there's obviously everything in between, so it's really, really cool to see how these teams are going to how they're going to make their mark onto the tournament.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I know Opus and I would probably agree. Where our alliance is a bunch of hunters. We're cloaky hunters. That's what our forte is. I don't think we do that great in an AT. We're good at springing traps on people.
It'd be really helpful if you introduced some sort of PvP-oriented competition for people who are bad at Eve. Instead of doing this thing where you reward the people who are super good, what about one where I could get in there and you make a reward for people who maybe kind of suck a little? That'd be fun.
That's
Those are
what
called
we made
login rewards.
Nullsec for, right? Just kidding.
Sort of proving grounds.
Zing.
There you go. Proving grounds. There you go.
I've been trying to play with ideas for like a second tournament to run in the spring, and I've actually been thinking, like, how can I can, we have the big classic Alliance tournament in the fall, and we can just make that kind of and it sets a nice baseline for the tournament community and all of that sort of stuff. But I've been thinking, what is there some cool alternative format that I can be experimental with? And maybe it doesn't work out, maybe it's just too difficult to run or whatever. But like crazy things, like what about like a 40v40 fleet fight, or maybe there's multiple objectives spread throughout a system, and it's actually not contained to an arena specifically.
Put them
So you
all
have
in
just, like,
Pachamon so we can kill people.
Yeah.
100%.
Make a shit fit tournament where no ships can equip weapons or modules that they're bonus to. They all have to use things that are really bad and make no sense on them, and just that'd be fun.
So many
Shit fit tournament.
autocannons.
Oh man, no, that'd be interesting.
There was or like an event where you can like scavenge. So you start off with like really bad stuff, but you can scavenge weapons from crates or something around the map, and then you can like build your shit fit in order to be slightly less shittier for the fight. Like that sort of stuff would be pretty entertaining.
I'm all about that. I think there was a player initiative called Titanomachy that was like kind of similar. They had ships, like you couldn't like upgrade your fits. That would be an amazing little upgrade. But they had ships all over the place, and the good ships were like towards the center. and the bad ships were just like on the fringes. So you'd go and like grab a bad ship and try and get a good ship without dying. It was really exciting.
That
I
makes me think of that on the '07 show back when Garb was still there. They had that. I think you competed at one time, Swift. It was like you start at the station, you get a hull, and you got to fit it, right? And you have like 5 minutes to fit it, then you go out and 1v1. Like that would be kind of cool.
My max shame for that is I was pitted up against Pro God and I beat him, just utterly decimated him. But we weren't recording. Like someone just forgot to hit start recording, so we had to do it again. And then I just like got a little bit overconfident slash nervous, and I just forgot to fit guns. So I got just completely dumpstered by Pro God.
Oh man. Oh, that's too funny. No, I mean I'm excited. I mean I don't watch much streaming. I mean I watch a couple of streamers, but it'll be fun to watch the AT. I need to sit down. I'll have to schedule times and stuff because well I still have to do this show, but it'll be fun to watch. I'm more excited for the feeders and like the finals and stuff. I like watching people fight for their life to get in. Then, eh.
the feeders are definitely going to be quite exciting. We're gonna have our work cut out for us to try and make the actual main event as exciting as the feeders this coming weekend. Because the
Yeah.
feeders are just going to be so incredibly bloody, even though we've expanded the brackets because it was just a little bit too much, like too many teams trying to fit in too little slots. It's still kind of insane. There's 51 teams that are competing for 16 slots, and it's single elimination. So you mess
Yeah.
up, Matt, you're out. Like that's it. Try again next year,
Yep.
which is really harsh.
Now what I do like.
Largest, right?
What?
Sorry, I was asking. This was the largest one ever, right? Feeder tournament.
It might be the largest feeder tournament. It's the second largest sign-up number that we've ever had, but it's going to be the largest feeder. Partly because we figured, my thought was, look, it's really tough to come up with human resources for a 64 team bracket because that takes every weekend out of a month for 8-hour streams. Like the number of people who are capable of running these tournaments and like commentating, like the best commentators and stuff, if we want to have a really good cast, it's actually just a huge amount of man hours to ask of anyone. Like, please give us all of your weekends in November, is really hard, especially when other people have jobs or family. That's a difficult ask. So I was, the thought was kind of like, let's take it easy coming back the first time. Let's go with a 32 team bracket. We can look at expanding back up to 64 if this goes smoothly. But the turnout was the second largest ever, and so that puts us in the interesting position. So we've upped the bracket to a 40 team bracket by taking an additional 8 from the feeders, but it's still going to be super harsh.
Yeah. No, I mean what I was more excited about is that you guys didn't allow you're not allowing the former AT ships this time around. Kind of like that fresh start.
Yeah, there's a few people who own those ships who are fairly sad about this because they were stockpiled from previous events, but at the same time, I think just for the quality of the competition, and for like the ease of everyone actually being able to have an even match, it makes a really big difference. Some of those ships were just so powerful in terms of uh, the meta, particularly because they were used, not even just the fact that the ships were incredibly strong, although they are. The real factor was the fact that they were used as ban evasion tools. So if you could ban out all the logistics, and then they could still bring an Atana anyway. And so you had to spend an additional ban on the Atana. And like that meta gaming was actually just so strong that it was really crippling for those that couldn't properly compete in it. So if you didn't think your opponent could field Natana and you can, you have a huge advantage.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a hard decision, but at the same time, it was a complete no-brainer, right? So, um, it will definitely level the playing field for everyone, which is kind of what we want to see, especially for the Alliance Hornet coming back. We want everyone to be able to feel like they've got like a good shot at, even if it's not winning the whole thing, but getting quite far in it to get some skins, maybe get far enough to win some prizes, and honestly just have a good time. Like that's ultimately what it's all about. We also tweak the prize points or the ship points quite a bit. I was actually looking through this morning the logs between Aurora and I as we were like going back and forth on like the point structures and everything, and it was possibly the most fun / stressed I've been for like 10 days. It was amazing.
And we've heard surprisingly few complaints about the point cost of things. There's some people who are like, the only valid flagship is the Barghest, but I think a fair portion of the people saying that are actually doing it as a distraction. Like they want people to think that the Barghest is the strongest ship. I don't actually. It's got a really good point value. It's got good cost for its point value, but I don't think it's the best thing in terms of van evasion and all of that sort of thing. But that remains to be seen. We'll see how the flagship breakdown happens when they're announced in October.
You guys should have told me that you guys were gonna make Mordu's Legion AT, so I could have bought up all the Bargas on the market and made a bunch of coin. Because right now I'm already making double back if I sell mine. Like this prices have skyrocketed.
That's why they don't do that.
I know,
Yeah,
I
there's
know, I know.
there's going to be a lot of them dying in this tournament too.
Oh yeah,
I when I made accounts in order to hand out prior to the feeders here over the last couple weeks, I had to generate. I generated over 2,000 accounts, so that's 2,000 individual players who are competing, which is just a large number of even like our like the daily population of Eve players that have something that are like actually in the tournament. And so that's just kind of a glimpse, and that's not even accounting for like all of the multiple matches. So that's just the raw player count.
yeah. I mean that's got to be something like a cherry on top for you guys for bringing it back. Like, hey, look at how much of the player count is just like, yes, we got it back.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really happy. It's really exciting to be able to make this many people happy, and so I will dedicate the rest of my life up until this is over to to putting on a good event for everyone.
There you go. So how, I mean, I know you guys have probably been getting updates on the UI changes for the skill tree and the skill queue stuff. I haven't looked into too much. I read a couple articles about it. I mean, I've been too busy to take time away to log into CC to look.
Yeah. Are you talking about internal information or
No, no,
people
no,
put
no.
out?
I'm just saying like what's been exposed on CC. Like I think the idea of the skill, like being able to put up like, hey, you want to go into this doctrine, like here's the skill tree for it, like put it in, train it. I like that idea instead of like hodgepodging stuff together and like, oh, I think I have everything, and you try to do the fit. You're like, dang it, I'm missing one skill. I like that idea. I mean, it for Kybernauts, it's great because we can, well, any Pacman group really, like our obs fleets, like we have very specific stuff we like on the ships to make it run smoothly, and I like that idea of being like, here's this, follow this, bam, you're done.
Yeah, absolutely. I was big into Brave in the Brave Dojo program, the bit that helps new players for quite a while. So that part of me is just super excited to be able to, instead of having to like explain how to install and use Evemon, and like here's the list of skills that you need to queue up. It's just it'll be so much nicer to be able to just be like, here's a skill plan to get you started. And then even the anyone who's running an alliance doctrine, like if you can just hand someone like, here's your doctrine skills, this will make sure that you're up to date. That's amazingly good, because it's just simplifies so much of that process, and helps people to get there. And it's really cool too. I think if you drag a skill into the skill queue, it'll auto populate all of the prerequisites, so you don't have to go hunting and picking for all of the prereqs. It's just there for you, which
Yep.
is super nice. Uh, and so it opens up additional opportunities, like even for cool things like drag a fit into the window and it'll give you all of the skills required. I don't think that's in there yet, but it is a thing that I've heard as a possibility. So it'll be just a really slick way to interact with all the skills, and I think everybody will be quite happy with it.
Instead of me with my freighter going, what skills am I missing? Oh, let me go in and buy each one of these skills and toss them in.
Yeah, getting lost in a right-click menu trying to find exactly what you need. And the thing is, it'll work for all levels of play, right? So it's not even just for new players. It could even be for like characters that need to train or need a certain thing to get into super carriers, right? Like if you want your access to a super fleet, you could just like drag and drop this thing in there. Make sure you've got all this stuff trained. If not, you can train it. It'll make it so much easier. I've lost so many like friends on Steam who I've like dragged into Eve kicking and screaming, and they're like, "Oh, I trained this one skill. I'm not using it right now, but I couldn't think of it. I couldn't find anything else, so I just trained it because I didn't want to lose out. Now I feel like I've lost everything. Oh, I'm so mad. I screwed everything up. Do I just delete and start over?" I'm like, no, 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 don't. And so then it's like a 15-minute conversation where I walk them through how to install Evemon. And if they're still there by the end, they get it. But a lot of them are just like, okay, I'll do that later. And they just dodge me for the next week until I stop pestering them. So this will be super nice to be able to just drag and drop, just like you do in Overview, and say, here's what you need to get sorted. Here's what you need to like do exploration. Here's what you need for doing missions, and then it's just a click of a button, and they can kind of learn at their own pace by like showing info on things that are in the right order, and then they can even like move it around. Like they can like change how they want to do it, but at least they'll have a foundation rather than just like this pit in the ground that we throw them in.
Yeah. No, I mean that's really cool. I mean, I personally I think it's great for new people coming in. I mean, I'm an old timer in the game. And I kind of was always on my own route. And when I tried to get friends into it, half the time a month later, they're like, I'm out. This is too complicated. And I'm just like, come on, it's such a great game. But I mean, I think it's great for new players, like that you can get them in like if you can get them in a corp, you can be like, hey, like this will get you into these ships. Here's the plan to get into these ships. Like, and have some fun instead of, I mean, kind of pushing a kid into the deep end of the pool.
Yeah, the process that CCP's on the track the last few years of getting the simulating fitting tools in, getting the skill plans in with being able to eventually hopefully drag and drop ships in and look at the skills required. That's such a big hurdle already, just already now being put in the game that players had to go over, as we were talking about. And it is a pain to have to. I love Evemon, I love Pyfa. Those are tools I use almost on a daily basis. But having those type tools inside the game, that gets rid of some complaints I know I've heard throughout the years of having Eve and then having all these other tools outside of it, right? So this is great to integrate all that in. And as someone who runs I don't want to say a lore-based alliance, but a PVE, people kind of think Potchman's still PVE from the invasions, and we had a lot of players coming in that had never done PvP, and coming to Potchman's very much a PvP-oriented thing. They had completely different skill sets than what we needed for PvP, and getting people on the same page was so hard. So these tools are going to help with that a lot for new players. Which we focus on new players as well. I think most alliances these days have some type of new player program, or someone that oversees that. This will make this so much easier to bring them in, to train them up right, so they can see what's going on. For a lot of times, we give them a skill plan that says just copy and paste this in, right? They have no clue what they're training. They don't see the payoff. They just know they can fly this now. So I'm looking forward to these tools getting in, and looking forward to learning them and doing them myself. I went on the CC and look at it. My only complaint is it just fills my whole window up. I like compact stuff, but there's a lot of information there, so I understand why you can't do that. But I'm super excited for it and want to be able to use these tools as soon as possible, on Tranquility.
Yeah, as far as the UI goes, it just in general is something that we see quite a lot. Is that it's really tough to judge a UI change by people's reactions to it, because in general, people absolutely hate having UI changes. Just period. And you can see that across every platform. Every time Twitter makes an update, every time Facebook makes an update, just whatever the thing is, when the UI changes, everybody who's got, that they're invested in that tool, it just throws all of their learned things out the window, and it causes a lot of friction. I think the fact that we've seen the feedback that we've gotten thus far has been relatively moderate and mild about the UI is actually an amazing sign thus far that it's on the right track. And it's always nice to have some additional options. Veterans really like things more compact, but I think part of the thing that you're balancing there is that compactness is more challenging in terms of information density and feeling overwhelming to really new people. So that might be kind of part of the balance. And some of that is, I know that behind the scenes they'll build like multiple different variations on a UI, and then they bring in new people to test them and see if this makes a difference in like they'll be playing through and there's like a person behind a one-way mirror and they'll be like, so how do you feel about what you're looking at right now? And if the person's just like, this is too much, I'm overwhelmed, then they mark that down and start looking at alternative solutions. So there's a lot of that sort of like consumer experience testing that's going on in the backgrounds right now about a lot of this stuff, which is certainly fun to look at from the outside. And I'm personally happy not to be on a UI team myself, but I do hope they enjoy their jobs too.
Well, I mean, I personally remember coming back after my first break and remembering watching the square boxes for your targets turn into round ones and being like,
Oh
okay,
man,
like
the
this is
outcry.
weird. This is
Yeah,
weird, but I'm back into Eve, so I don't really care. But it was still that like that moment in my mind where I was like, dude, I remember these being boxes, not circles.
I remember when the like the little icons for the ship sizes used to just be like a bigger and bigger cross, and I
Hmm.
was like, oh, this is perfect. And then they changed them to like the very informative different types of chevrons for different
Yeah.
like ship classes and stuff. And when that came through, I was like, this is the worst. Why are they doing this? And then I'm like, not even a week later, I was like, yeah, this actually isn't so bad. I could see which is actually a destroyer, which one's a battleship, which one's an AF by just looking at it. How did I live before?
yeah. It took some relearning though, is exactly the thing, because
Yeah.
the size was no longer the key thing. So everybody had to build some new neural pathways in order to adjust to that. But the outcry when that happened originally was insane. But at the same time, if we were to go back today, like it would be even worse on the flip side, because people would be like, are all the same icon. How the heck am I supposed to differentiate?
Oh
In
yeah.
terms of in terms of some of the like the common complaints, I think one of the biggest ones is, or at least the most common, is exactly what Opus was mentioning. Like it takes up a lot of space. It feels like there's a lot of white space, and that's something that the team has heard. So it's not like they have no idea about that. So that like feedback has gotten back to them. And if you have any other thoughts about the UI for the or anything about the skill plans, please go onto the forums in the appropriate section and like put that feedback there so we can like curate it and give it back to the teams as well.
I mean, I personally, everyone complaining about the current skill training window. I remember the old one. Yeah, the old one was comfortable, but like the new one, I mean, yes, it's learning where stuff is at, but it's not that bad. Like, I hate the like back and forth. Like some people are like, oh, this is better, and this one's better, and it's like, I mean, they both have their pluses and their minuses. So like that's my hope that with these new changes, like everything would be like everyone will kind of get over it and it'll be a nice straight line and everyone will be more happy than the I like the old way or I like the new like the current way.
While I love that thought, it makes what immediately jumps to mind is like the XKCD comic where it's like nobody can decide on what to use. Like we need to make something that's a universal standard, and it's like, you know, currently there are 12 competing universal standards. Like after a month of development, there are now 13 competing universal standards. So it's entirely possible that people will have opinions on which one they like
I
most.
mean I mean
But
people will have their
hopefully
opinions.
they find like a
I
really
mean, I
nice,
still want my
comfortable
old icons back. You know, the colorful ones used to have. I still want those back.
on the Neocom. Yeah, that's
Yeah, yeah. I
not
mean, I love
uncommon
that we can
feedback.
trade. You know, they're very modular now. But I mean, I spent a long time memorizing what each one of those things were.
Now that is a common thing that I saw.
I also hear people surprisingly frequently, perhaps, asking for their damaged briefcases back. So
Hmm. Yeah, well everyone's gonna say they need Logi on kill mails, so it's okay. Everyone can't have everything they want.
Please.
Lodging on kill mails is actually a surprisingly complicated problem. It was announced perhaps a little earlier than it should have been. It's not a thing that's been forgotten about, but it's a thing that requires a full rebuild of the kill mail system. So
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't really mind. A healer doesn't kill the final boss, so I mean, he just helps carry everyone to kill the final boss. I mean,
Here comes the hate mail.
oh yeah,
At least in
everyone's gonna kill me.
at least in my every group that I've been in, the logic pilots always get all the love. Like, you know who they are. They're kind of like the cool kids at the cafeteria. They have their own special table. They're a little bit intimidating. They fly a little bit better than you, but like you always know who they are. So until we get them on the kill mails, they at least have like the street cred and notoriety within their player groups.
Hmm. Oh yeah, we love our
Right.
logic pilots. We love them, and a lot of them kill people too. So
That love
Dude.
is better than kill mails.
Dude, the Logis from the invasion content were some of the most heroic people in the world, because often they didn't even get the same rewards we did. They didn't grind enough standings or in time to get the armor that we got, because they weren't on as many kills as we were. So they fucking carried the event and don't even have anything to show for it. So we remember Triglavian Logi.
that's why I like armor fleets, because then you can like throw some random E-war module into your mids in order to like get on additional kills.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's why no one wants
always
me flying a
damage
Logi.
drones.
Carry
I
one
would,
combat drone.
Yeah, I'd
Right.
just rip off a rep and just throw a small gun on there just so I could make sure. And just hope I don't die, because I'd get ridiculed so hard if I did.
I once there was a fleet where I really wanted to get on some cap kill or something. I forget what was happening, and I had just picked up like a prefit ship, and it had nothing for me to use in order to get on that kill mail. So I actually abandoned my drones, scooped drones from a dead ship nearby me, and then used it on the kill so that I could get on. So
That's fucking
totally
punk
worth
rock,
it.
man.
Oh, that's awesome. So let's switch gears a little bit here. We're gonna focus on what this show's about. Us crazy triangles that live out in Pokemon. How was your guys' reaction? I mean, I know you guys are community team members. How was your guys' reaction when we were like, burn it all down, we're done?
Our reaction to the burn it all down thing was
Yep.
basically like, this is entertaining, and several of us were like invisible watching nearby. Like we just kind of showed up to like watch some things explode, and we're like, cool.
Cool,
So
they're
that
murdering
was
their own
very.
stuff.
I mean, yeah, that was very much kind of the reaction in the office at the time.
Yeah, I mean,
The Asbel fight in particular, like right before the burn it all down moment, where Electus Matari came in like at the very end and suicided their fleet for the final kill, was
Incredible fight.
insanely great to watch. Like, I was there, we're just watching like cloaked, hoping no one would decloak me or like knock me off, because I was still like super new to CCP at the time. So I was like, I hope no one finds me. Like,
I
this
think
would be the
everyone would have
worst.
switched to you.
Yeah. But we're just watching it play out and not knowing, like, because I didn't have the luxury of being on any of the fleets or anything like that. So I was just a neutral observer. So trying to make sense of what was happening, and I just could not. I was like, oh, did they save it? Everyone warped off? Well, that was kind of cool. Nice fight. And then I was like, what? These foods are in again. What's going on? They're all dying. That's strange. Oh, the thing just popped. It was just the wildest fight I've ever seen, probably in years of playing EVE Online. It just was so incredibly entertaining and back and forth, and I guess visceral for the ones that had to be on the field.
Golly, I'm a little bummed to hear that CCP's main reaction was entertainment. What we hope to communicate. What we hope to communicate was actually quite sad. If anything, I would hope that the folks at the developers side would be like, man, it sucks that the people who created this space no longer feel that they can live here because of the changes we've made to their climate. When you opened up the gates and allowed nullsec to come in here and basically kick us around, it fed us up on a silver platter. And what we were communicating by destroying our own structures was that there's no way for us to survive anymore. We can no longer hold on. So that's, I mean, yeah, it was definitely fun, and it was a lot of
fun.
explosions. But I wish the protest came across a little bit more. I don't know.
So there is an element of that actually did get through. A lot of the people.
That did get through, yes.
It wasn't necessarily the act of abandoning structures. It was definitely from a group of very constructive people from the Triglavian community that came forth and put up like a really great post for us to look at internally, to relay to the team members who are working on things within Pochvin. People in the Edencom side have done the exact same thing as well. But just getting, I think it's called the Future of Pochvin channel, where just a lot of really, really great people came together, collaborated on a wonderful document for us to like talk about the concerns that they have within the region, how they envision it, what they don't want to see, the pain points they experience, and us being able to like deliver that was a huge win.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I tell you, one of the things I found most satisfying, and no offense, my dear friend Swift, but we transferred a bunch of ships to people in protest, and one of them was you. We transferred a ship to you, Swift, and my buddy Cosmic got a kill on you because when our structure exploded, your ship dropped, and he shot it, and it was hilarious. So if you check Zkill,
Yeah,
Cosmic has a kill on you that
I was definitely watching, without a doubt.
I had actually that happens to all of us fairly frequently. During the Pospey eviction, which happened a few months ago in Wormhole Space, which is a sort of biggish event. Although not much fighting has happened, it was a large scale eviction. I was transferred a bunch of ships, and I happened to be online, and I noticed them in my assets, and I was like, well, clearly I shouldn't let them get away with this, and so I tried to remove the ships, but I did. I was still somewhat new at the time, and whatever I did, I suddenly realized that it wasn't like a normal action. I had used like dev magic of some sort, unintentionally, that I didn't mean to. And so what my concern was not that I had just like ejected the ship remotely from the station, so it just like floated out on its own, which might have happened. But I was actually more concerned that I had just mass ejected everything from the station.
Oh no!
Like everyone's belongings in it, which would have been horrible.
Oh no.
So I actually wound up like immediately running to some of the GMs. I'm like, I need you to help me double check that I didn't just screw this up. Yeah, that was interesting.
That's definitely a panic moment.
But yeah, out of all that, I will say the Asbel fight was, I mean, definitely. I mean, I've been in Eve for a long time. I've been on a lot of big fights, and that was, well, it wasn't the biggest. It was by far the most intense and one of the most memorable fights. Just having them come back. We had a momentary, even though we're still calm in the channel, right? The Trig side, we're like, do we get them? Are they gone? Do we say that, save it? And then they come back in. It's like, I guess I'm gonna fight again. And it's like, oh, they're going all in. This is happening, and we just tried to burn them down. It was just a race, and those are the fun times we used to have with those. The way the old the old station mechanics used to be for iHubs. You used to, whoever got the last shot, got the station, and that was kind of what that felt like with that maneuver they pulled. But props to them. It was a good fight. Definitely one I look forward to telling all the newbies of Eve I was there. But yeah, that was when we not to rehash what I've said before on other podcasts in this one, but that mentally we were spent, right? My guys, 5-6 timers a week, for a month and a half.
More
we
than
couldn't
one
keep
time
it
a
up.
day.
Right. There's a story of Kylon, his battery on the side of the road because his battery isn't charged. I mean, it was a fun time of Eve. It was a hard time in Eve, which I guess looking back that's Eve. I mean, Eve is hard and fun at the same time, and it's those hurdles and those trying times you remember and make you grow. I mean, so looking back, definitely some good times, tired times, some frustrating times with both. I felt like both CCP, and even just everyone attacking us. But it's a game. We play it for the. I mean, Eve's the only game you get to have this type of emotion. I feel like. I mean, I played a lot of video games, a lot of MMOs. This raw emotion that comes just from the players itself, right? You're not fighting an NPC. You're fighting the other player. and those stories that come out of that is what makes Eve so special, right? It makes us newsworthy in news journals all over the world.
Yeah, 100%. I would completely agree with that. I think that some of the most fun times I've had in Eve were basically when PL was evicting us from first catch and then fade. I think my most fun was in fade. That was quite a time, and it was super stressful trying to keep everything together. But that was definitely even with all the stress and the drama and everything that came out of that whole situation, which there was a lot of at the time. Reddit was basically on fire with that whole event. That was, I think, some of the most formative content that I've ever had in Eve. You know, well
I think
beyond just like a simple room.
Aurora is just putting it in slightly nicer terms and trying to pick the right word, so I don't feel super guilty about it.
I was there
It
too.
is all Swift's fault.
Yo, it was okay. So I'm one of the newer players probably in this room. My 3-year birthday is right after Pacven's 1-year birthday, or right before. Like I turn 3 the time Pacven turns 1, and this was the biggest, most interesting thing I ever got to be a part of. It's one of the reasons I take this so seriously. Why I try to represent the Treglavian voice out here on all these shows is because, dude, like this means a lot to us. This isn't just like a cool new space. This is our home. This is some shit that we sacrificed years, that we put our physical bodies and Kylon's car on the line to achieve. So it means a lot to us, man. And I fear that I will wake up one day and look around and not see any more Triglavian people left because they're all, slowly forced to go to other things. So it is sincerely my hope that the space kind of continues to leave room for the people who fought to make it.
Yeah, and I actually really enjoyed not only yours but a few other of the Kybernauts who ran for the CSM, just so they could have like these discussions, right? Because it wasn't only like the small CCP sponsored back and forth and interview and stuff, but there were like proper interviews set up where you guys could just go on. I know Mal did a great job. You did a great job. I can't remember who else was what other Triangle people were in there, but DTM's like a CSM debate / The Bachelor type show was amazing to watch, just to hear the conversations from those like the passionate people that live in Triangle space. And I got to pick up on a great way to refer to it, which is how I always refer to it now, which is Space Hell.
Yeah.
That's just my favorite piece of Eve lexicon.
Yep, it's Space Hell.
It is. It is.
Yo, I got eliminated pretty quick in the CSM election, which is to be expected of a humble person like myself. But I won second place on DTM's show. So triangles represent out here in these streets.
Most important.
Ooh.
Oohs and local boys.
No, yeah. No, I mean, I liked that our burning down our structures was a good point because it freed us from that, the old joke of push button receive bacon. I mean, we were, with the gates opening, for us it was, oh, there's guys that are going to fight and defend their structures because if it's gone, it's gone. So we get to hit it, and now we automatically get a fight back. Like we get to show up at the timer, we get a fight, and it dragged on too long. Like,
I mean, kind of. We were some whack content, dude. Like,
No.
we formed 15 bombers on a good day, and they come mobbing in with 40 T3 cruisers. I'm like, this isn't even a fight. Is
Yeah.
this fun for you? Gosh.
Yeah, there's some weird points in the defending all our structures. I will admit that one. There was some odd points where it was just like, it's a Tuesday at like what time, like Eastern Standard Time, like, it could be like 10 p.m. Eastern or 11 p.m. Eastern that it's gonna pop out, and you're just like, dude, no one's gonna show up. Like, you got the West Coast, there's maybe some people from Mountain and Central Time, like everyone in Europe's asleep.
We found ourselves outclassed pretty quickly, dude. Like I said, like we're small gang people. This space used to be small gang space, but all of a sudden the blocks are here, and it's like, dude, we cannot match their form ups if we call every friend's friend we know. Like, there's no way.
We
I
still
had a
go for it.
I had a Reitaru in Pachvin that I tried to defend with like my alts and 4 other people who I could drag from PL, because this was when I was a player. I was just trying to drag people in there to help me save my little structure, and Tissue just came and just obliterated it. And I saved it once. I was like, oh, yes. And then Tissue came back like a week later and killed it again. And then they just left the area. They were just like, oh, that was fun. See ya. And I was so
We
sad.
got the kill.
Yeah, they just keep hitting it until they get a really favorable timer.
Bro, so we had one in Harva, which was our home system for a time. I forget which of our structures it was, but we basically it was lost. There was no way. We came with what we could afford to whelp, and we were ready to die on it. But then our friends and all their friends and some people who were our enemies, like Electus Matari, showed up to defend us. We were like, we were fighting you 2 days ago. What's going on here? It was the craziest thing I'd ever been. I have all these FCs pinging me like, why are these people here? Oh, should I shoot at them? Are they hostile? What the fuck's going on? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't invite them. They're here. Please don't kill each other. It looks like you're all shooting the bad guys. So, yeah, it was. Pockfin's a crazy place.
It really is. It really is. Like we found ourselves even now. You come across an entity and you're null sec, low sec, wanderer, mercenary, and you're like, are these people here because they're going to shoot us? Or are they semi-friendly? They just want to try the space out, and you never know what you're going to run into. Like I've shot blues that I thought were like I've shot neutrals that I thought they didn't know were blue, and I'm like, you're not blue. I'm the alliance leader. I had no clue you're blue. When did you blue us? They go, oh well, we just wanted to come in and see people. Oh, well, I'm one of these people you want to see. You probably want to talk to us, and then they get mad at you.
Professional diplomacy tip for those of you watching: please communicate with people before setting them blue.
Yeah,
it's a good idea.
Probably a good idea.
But it's been great to have to that's the good thing about Pochfin. I feel like it's super unique still. The politics in there are kind of eat be eaten, and then once you figure a fish that's about your size or bigger, and you figure out who you need to buddy up to, it's interesting. I'm glad the space exists. There's been hardships. There's been some great times. I mean, right now we're having a good time. There's some unique gameplay that I think super unique, and that it being right next to low sec, high sec with the wormholes and gates, it's super unique. But there are definitely still things that need to be worked out, and I know CCP's looking at that document we sent and going through it. Right, I know that everything can't get fixed at once, but until then, it's just a ride, and that's anybody that wants to come out. There's a great place. It's space hell. It's if Eve is hell, this is even worse hell. But it's fun. I mean, it's adventurous. You never know what's going to happen. I mean, sometimes you can't get off the gates.
And it's a thing that people can get into super quickly. There's a lot of people who haven't even tried it necessarily, who perhaps there's a fair number of people in Eve who aren't willing to do content that they don't already have like clear instructions on how to do easily. So there's a bit of a barrier for people to get into Pochfin.
Good.
At the same time,
stay out.
Stay out.
This is our
At
home.
the same time, they can also you can put together a little fleet and be in there in 5 minutes, which is certainly it makes for a really interesting place to go outside of roaming nullsec or whatever else they would be otherwise doing with their time.
There's been a couple of times where Amelia Dusk Space has posted like, oh, we're gonna do 5-man fleets. Like we're gonna set up 5-man fleets, and we're all gonna yeet into Pochvin and roam Pochvin. And I've been so tempted sometimes, being like, all right, we're gonna reach out to all of the Triangle Coalition, and we're just gonna set up gate camps on every gate and just murder every single ship that comes through. Because it's just like it's our space. Like,
great news. That's what happened anyways. I've been in 2 of those.
Yeah,
they're a blast.
I mean,
it's space hell. I mean, you bubble fuck the hell out of gates, and you're screwed either by NPCs or players sitting there waiting for you. Like, and 90% of us are cloaky hunters. Like, we literally.
What sort of host would we be if we didn't roll out the red carpet and give you a fucking Pochven fair fight 10-1? Let's party, bro. Come on down.
The Jitta Express service.
I will
pod
say,
you home right quick.
As someone who's positive to both Trigs and Edencom, it's now a lot safer to take the gates, at least as far as the NPCs are concerned. And it seems like I'm a lot more likely to encounter a Capsuleer than an NPC now, which is cool.
Nice. It will be a long time. It will be a long time before Edencom forgives my crimes, friends.
He has more to do on that.
There's been some good updates. Y'all do some updates here recently, and those have definitely quality of life issues we were begging to get fixed, and they got fixed, and definitely a good for the Trigs Living community. I feel like it was a good reach out for us, and just see that y'all did to hear us and fix some of the. I think one of the two biggest issues we had. That basically, it's not, when you come off a gate from being uncloaked, before you can even cloak back up, right? You get insta shot from a drifter. That's not fun. There's nothing you can do about that. It's not mechanics at that point. There's nothing that we did. It was just that, and fixing that alone was just made it so much more easier to live here, and that was like 75% of my complaints. And the other thing with the observatory flashpoints, which we've all talked into the ground, making it to where the fleet gets the payout, was like incursion mechanics was definitely the other thing. So those two things went a long way, I think, with the Trig community, with myself, and knew that you were hearing us. I think that's what we were scared of, is that we weren't being heard.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing that's something that Aurora and I can actually do. Or, like, we can't go in and do game design stuff. Well, actually, Aurora can, but I can't. But we're not supposed to, anyways. But being able to let you guys know that we actually do hear you, not only on the Triglavian side, but on the Edencom side, in Pochman, and even like the completely unaffiliated side in Pochman. Like, everyone has their own view of how the region should look. And we're not the ones that are like the ultimate arbitrators of how that's going to look, but we can definitely relay that to the teams that are still working on that. And we do hear you guys. So thanks for like self-organizing and getting that information to us. But we definitely want to make sure that you guys know that we do hear everything that not everything, but we do hear you guys when you reach out to us. It's not just like throwing it into a bottomless pit or something.
Yo,
Yeah, even sorry.
Go ahead. After you.
I was just gonna say, like, so we did stop and like watch the fights and the structures explode when you were burning everything down. But at the same time, like, while that was happening, like, we also gathered feedback from the community and ongoing events and topics of discussion, and that was actually like one of the main points in one of our reports that we gave to management, and that trickles down to game design and all of that sort of stuff. That was basically like, this is the current situation in Pochman. This is why this is happening. Like, these are the feelings. Here's like where you can read more on the feelings, that stuff. So that is very much our role in that sort of thing. But then we also teleported in to watch things explode. So
Of course you did. You're Eve
both
players.
sides.
Explosions. That's what we're here for.
It means a lot to know that you guys care. And I must represent, one of my pilots has begged me to ask this of you. So now that I have a captive audience of CCPs, Swift and Aurora, I'm going to ask you on behalf of the Triglavian community, in-game cowboy hats, let's make it happen. The people deserve them. Just let's make it happen. Space Cowboys.
There's actually, so speaking of cowboy hats, somewhat relevant. I think I'm saying this because I think there's a basis for this that would be easy to get past the development team. Is basically that, like, whenever you have to execute live code on Tranquility, there's a specific cowboy hat, like a live coding cowboy hat that you can put on in the office. So it just makes extra sense. Cowboy
Let's
hats
make that happen.
and out of it. Exactly.
Thank you. I appreciate your support.
I mean,
Yeah,
if
dude,
it's good enough for Firefly, I'm sure we can figure out a reason to put it in there for
even Cowboy
Eve.
Bebop.
Yeah.
Firefly.
Sure.
Look at all these scholars and gentlemen and people.
Oh man, I mean, I've said this on previous shows. Like, I do feel bad that like Edencom kind of did get the shaft. And I like that you're listening to us. I'm hoping you guys are listening to Edencom too. Like,
Oh yes.
I feel like they got the shaft, but like they also haven't lost bunches of ships flying through HiSec trying to move stuff around because you're like, oh, I'm trig positive. Oh, I'm getting murdered like every like third jump. But
Edencom got exactly what they fought for. They created systems in HiSec that persist to this day, where the resource gathering is nice and tasty, and they fought to preserve HiSec. That's what they did. I mean, I recognize that they certainly, didn't get as many rewards as I might think is fair, but their claim to Pochman is pretty minimal, if I may say. They fought to make sure it didn't exist. Are you saying you're uncomfortable here? Good, I respond. You're not meant to be comfortable here. You're our enemy. You're the bad guys.
Oh man.
No, we're the bad guys.
Yeah. No, we're the good guys.
Dude. We're the triangles. We fought for justice and freedom.
Sure.
We're trying to dismantle the space government. No, we're the good guys. Anyone trying to fight
Eve, everyone is the bad guy.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
In Eve, you're
We're the
always
least-
someone's bad guy.
Mhm.
We're the least bad of the bad guys.
It's just perspective.
We fought
Yes,
to
it is.
liberate planets from the Amar. We fought, even the Minmatar government has something to answer for in that they fought to preserve the Amarian slaveholders' right to, exploit their people, where we actually fought to chase the Amar out. We liberated more Minmatar than they did during the invasion. Take that, Electus Matari.
Oh man. No, this is why we love having you on, Zero. Oh, yeah. No, I mean it's all perspective. It's Eve. Everyone hates each other, pretty much. If you're
I'm actually
not blue, we
really
hate you.
happy. The one thing that I'm probably the most happy about with everything is people like Zero, people like you guys who are like now interested in the lore of like the universe that we have in EVE Online. For the longest time, the roleplay community was super small, really insulated, almost all stuck into like the Amar roleplay side, and there are like some very few exceptions. Um, and it's so nice to see in the last, I'd say, 2.5 years how the roleplay community itself has like expanded. And even if people don't want to consider themselves like the roleplay community, people who at least know the lore and are aware of it and like are in some cases motivated by it is so cool to me. I got hooked really hard when the Amar Championships came around because it was like a mini alliance tournament. I was interested in that type of content, and so I just kind of jumped in. And that's why I met people like Arcia and Deebs, and it was just such an incredibly fun experience that it's nice to see more people like getting drawn into that side of the game.
Yeah.
It's one of the most motivating things for me. I'm a nerd, dude. I came from World of Warcraft. I was all about this. Let's write backstories for our characters and shit. And then I come here and there's like all these years of just really incredible sci-fi writing that I get to decipher and try to find my place within it. The Triglavians were just the icing on the cake, dude. That's just like the coolest storyline.
I think
Alright,
the thing that sucked me in the most in terms of lore was definitely the the sleepers, like with the emergence of wormholes, and like the drifters, the drifter invasion, the whole storyline with Jamil Sarum, like that was the thing that I think stirred me up the most of all the things that happened. But there's been so many things that happen. It's just super cool to have the story constantly evolve. Like the storyline that we got to watch and like take part in with the evolution and final creation of Pachvin was just one of the coolest things. So it's always nice to be able to not just kind of read about the history, but also to be a part of it.
Hell yeah. I absolutely predict the next phase, and nobody has to confirm or deny. This is just me tinfoiling. I believe that the Edencoms and the Triglavians and all everybody are going to have to fight together when the Drifters come. They're going to come mess shit up real good, and we're going to have to stand together or be eradicated as a species. So that's my prediction. Big Drifter War. I'm ready.
Is that how Eve ends? Is that how Eve 1.0 ends and 2.0 begins? Is that what we're going towards?
Massive.
No,
ancient-
Eve is forever.
Right? The ancient enemy Azdaja must be defeated.
Well, I have played Eve for half my life, so it does feel like forever some days.
Same, TBH.
Same.
I know, right?
Feels good. Like that's one of the coolest parts of and I'm just gonna gush a little bit. Sorry, of being on the community team, because the same is true for Aurora. The same is true for Convict. Like we just sit there and kind of nerd out about Eve stuff and share Eve memes, and it's just so good to be like finally just show up to work and hang out with people who are literally my people.
Well, that is something I really enjoy about our community team, right? I do talk to Convict a good bit, and I just had someone the other day, one of the Aussies, actually say, I used to fly with this person, right? Looking at who was inside Cybernauts at one point. And I said, oh, yeah. I said, he's part of the community team now. I'm like, what? I'm like, yeah, the actual players in Eve are on the community team. Like, that's the great thing. It makes it approachable. Like, we've flown with a lot of y'all before, whether we realize it or not. I think it puts a lot of us at ease. When we come to you as players, you've been in our seats. Now, granted, we haven't been in yours. You're in the hot seat now. But it's nice that I think sometimes even with us doing the Triglavian stuff and us being upset and not feel like we weren't heard, I hope that it comes across as flash in the pan, right? at the end of the day, we love Eve. That's why we're passionate about it. And I know that you guys are in those seats because you're passionate about this video game in the community. And that's great. I love that we have that type of interaction with community devs. That they're not just yes, they're there to, it's your job, but you came from the community and you understand us. Of course, this is people that want to see things tore down, just tear it down. But I think most of the Eve players, we love this game, we love this community. In fact, Eve is here because of the community, in my opinion. And having Swift, Aurora, Convict, all the many others, having that type of legacy of having the players, join the company and kind of watch over it from that perspective just makes me feel really good about the future of the game and just our interactions with you guys and girls.
And that's really nice to hear. It's Eve has probably one of the most passionate communities I think I've seen for any game. The core central part of Eve Online's community is uncomparable to any other group that I've really seen. It's hard to find folks like yourselves in other games that care this much about a game, and that's probably like the biggest blessing that CCP or EVE Online itself could possibly ask for. We obviously hear a lot of complaints about various different things all the time, but the thing about those is that it always comes from a place of deep love and concern about EVE Online and the large ecosystem that is everything that is EVE Online. I, finding having a small amount of trouble phrasing that, but it always comes from a place of like deep care and love and concern for this thing that we all share, and we pretty much always see that. And as players, we often feel it too. We have to remain fairly like stoic and neutral, but it's kind of our duty to make sure that that gets appropriately shared within the company as well, so that they anyone who's isn't is working on the game who wasn't that deeply involved with it, which to be fair, there's a lot of people in the company who are also passionate youth players. Uh, they can hear you for exactly what you're saying is kind of our goal.
Yep.
And
Well,
that's somewhat a concern that I've had, is that so often the only reason I have to interact with you guys is to offer a criticism or a complaint, and it gets to feeling like all I have to say is negative, or all anybody has to say is negative. But in a way, the word you chose is correct. It's duty. I feel an obligation to raise these points because we all share in something, right? We all share in this outcome, and so even though the good messages aren't always the first you hear, I mean that's why the bad messages are there, is because we all care so deeply about this project.
Yeah, good. We do get good messages, but the thing about good feedback is that it's from the person who's giving it. It's non-essential. So the negative feedback that is shared with us is essential because I have concerns about this thing that I love that need to be addressed. Is very much generally the reason or the thing behind it, and so that's why it can sometimes you have a disparity in terms of like the voice that's necessarily being shared. Like our we there's a button when you log out of the game that gives you a statistic that's like uh did you enjoy playing EVE Online today? Thumbs up, thumbs down, and that's it. um Over 90% of the people who log out of the game click thumbs up, so there's a lot of people having fun. But sometimes you can go on various channels and pretty much all of the discourse is negative. So you can have people having fun at the same time that there's concerning feedback that people are hoping is to be acted on. And so we see that too. Even if people aren't making big posts to let us know that they really like a new thing, or that they're really having fun with other stuff, which still happens. Those are not as important, I guess, to the people. Like if you're having fun, you don't necessarily jump out a window, like shout it out a window and tell people. So it's something that we always kind of have in our minds in terms of the framing of the feedback that we receive.
well, that's because internet spaceships is serious business.
is serious business.
It is
And not
very
just because
serious
it's my
business.
actual job.
Yeah,
That's
this
why I
is
have
real
the
life.
Eve Onion, because it's not all that serious.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to write my own satire post about my own show. Yeah, I know. I've said this multiple times, Opus.
Blue triangle in bed with CCP confirmed.
Yep. Triangles. It's gonna be like CCP Aurora, CCP Swift are on the side of the triangles. Eve Onion post. It'll be the next post on Eve Onion.
Please no.
Join the dark side, bro.
See,
I've
now I
had
have
some-
to do it. You said please don't.
Yeah, I've had some interesting mentions in Eve Onion already. Like, I feel like this isn't necessarily the first one that people have been like, is this true?
I mean, I think by this point, I thought everyone knew that, it's satire, it's not true, it's fake, but it doesn't correlate to people sometimes, and even I get messages. Where'd you find this about? It's fake.
Satire?
No, dude.
It's satire. Now I have had things come true. There are several posts we've done many years ago that actually are true now, not bad things, just features in the game or whatever. But if you throw enough stuff at the wall, eventually something's going to stick.
Hello, Jay God
To
Live.
that end, one of the most funny / unnerving experiences was watching Riggs Javix run for the CSM, because every single thing that he had in his campaign, we ended up just completely by happenstance implementing around the same time.
It was
So
all
all of
like
it
next day. It was truly amazing.
That reminds me. I need to pester Rick. He asked for a rain check to be on the show. He was supposed to be on with Juris Doctor and Brisk, and he thought his campaigning was over, and him and his wife went on and did something. And he was like, "I can't make it." I'm like, "Dude, it's okay. You're part of the Rust Belt like me. Like, we'll talk another time."
Oddly enough, I was as I was relocating from the US to Iceland, uh, my initial flight out from the US to Reykjavik was on the same flight that he and his wife were going out to just visit Reykjavik, or
Yep.
to visit all of Iceland. So we were meant to be on that same flight, but unfortunately mine got rescheduled by a little bit. So I just missed him.
That's too funny. Yeah, he told me. I was trying to get him on another show, and he told me, he was like, "Yeah, I'm going to Iceland. Like, I can't be on the show." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Have fun in Iceland,
Weird
man.
flex, right? You're flexing on me.
Well, I was more bummed out because I haven't been to Iceland yet, and that's a geologist's paradise. So,
Well,
Is it no?
2023.
I mean, you can pick up any rock and it's always igneous. There's no variation.
but it's the land of fire and ice. You have volcanoes and glaciers.
Yes, I'm mostly joking. It is very cool. But at the same time, pretty much all of the rocks are igneous. So if you're looking for interesting rocks, they're kind of boring here.
Yeah, it's
The
not like
landscape's cool, but the
You guys
individual rocks.
You should come to Eve Vegas. There's all manner of rocks in Las Vegas, and I will be there as well as the rocks, so we can all hang out.
We don't
I
want
go to
those.
Vegas no more. San Diego.
Yeah,
San Diego win. San Diego win
next year, I think. Right, as long as COVID doesn't kill us all.
Right. I plan on going to Eve Iceland. I'm planning on going to FanFest in 2023. I'll finally be there. So we keep the game going to 2023. I'll be happy. I finally make it to Iceland.
I plan on going to Iceland. Well, maybe I'll go for my birthday this year.
That, but we'll see you in 2023.
There you go.
I should go for my birthday finally. Party on New Year's Eve.
So
I dream.
They actually do have I think it's the largest fireworks fired per capita of anywhere in the world on New Year's Eve in Iceland. So
my birthday's New Year's Day. It's now been 3 years delayed, almost 4 years delayed since I wanted to do it. But yeah. All right. So I know we got some, we need to wrap up shortly soon. Yes, Eve, Atlanta, November 6th. Opus, thank you.
I just told people that. I just yeah.
I know we're gonna wrap up, so our boundary violator can find a place to live, and we can let CCP Aurora go do her things. As usual, I like to wrap up the show talking about some funny kills. I don't have any. I've been too busy doing my own thing in Eve, putting up structures and mining. I've gone back to my roots. But Opus, besides Saturday Night Invasions, it might be Saturday Night Invasions talk.
Yeah, Saturday Night Invasions. We do this thing every Saturday night at usually 01:30 Eve time, where we basically Trig Lavians get together, mostly Cybernauts at this moment, and we just ride around Potchman. We will go yeet ourselves into Nullsec, part of the invasion part of it. We basically get out and shoot people that aren't Cybernauts, well, Trig Lavians basically. And we have some fun with that. Most of the time we end up whelping. I'm not gonna lie. There's way more people in Nullsec than there are us, but it's fun. We do get on some good kills. Most of our stuff's cloaky, so but nothing specifically. We got some good kills last night. But Saturday Night Invasions is always something I enjoy doing, and it's it's kind of our thing because we get to go invade K-Space at this point. I guess they're kind of like wormholers, but we're Trigs. We've already survived war invasion. We have another invasion on a weekly basis.
We're wormholers with extra steps.
Yes.
Weird wormhole.
Yeah, Bachman's one big weird wormhole. Actually,
Wormhole
before I
gates.
continue on with this, I don't know if you guys in the community team have realized that you guys have done your big happy Four Empires thing. Have you guys heard about what we're doing? Numinality Day.
I am not sure.
Totality Day.
Yeah, Totality Day. October 13th, when Bachman was created, we're doing our own celebration.
Nice. Okay. Cool. What do you have planned?
What do they have planned? I don't have it pulled up right now.
So Strybog is the official one that created the event and hosting it. There is a CCP. I think Convict is aware of it.
Yeah, go
Someone's
past your
aware of it.
Convict.
That makes sense.
So,
Yeah, he was in the he was fighting for the Trigs pretty hard during the invasion.
we
Yeah.
totally plan to participate in some of Strybog's events, but also we're looking to do some of our own because we're the small gang side of things. We've never been the big group they are, so we've kind of had our own history here. And we thought about doing roaming procures, just try to get kill marks on procures and see who can give out prizes to anyone who brings someone down with a barge.
So much fun. I actually did one day I convinced somebody with a Titan to give us a lift. And so we did a hot drop of proc fleet. Where I hot dropped procurers onto someone else's mining fleet, which is hilarious. And so we killed their procurers with our procurers, and then we just sat there mining their ore until they came back with nightmares, and then we killed a couple nightmares before we died.
That's
That's awesome. Okay, so the procure thing, I know we got derailed on this. I still think my favorite thing was being on comms with. He was our Diplo for a while, and he stepped away from the game for a month. He was sitting there being like, "Guys, there's a Hekate on me in the home field in Pakistan, like in Kino. Like, can you guys help me? I'm down in armor, and he's down in armor. I'm in structure, he's in structure. I killed it. I have 6% hull left. I need to dock up." Like, we were all just kind of laughing, listening to comms, because we were all scrambling to get into combat ships. We were just like, wait a second. You're either going to die and we kill it, or you're going to kill it and we're going to show up late. Like, Procurers do some dirty things. We kill a lot of things with our mining ships.
Yeah, I think there was definitely one day where Hekate I was just sitting in a solo procure. Hekate warped in on me, but got too close and found out that I had to scram the hard way. And he died before the fleet that he was tackling for even showed up. So that was definitely a good day. You feel very smug after a situation like that.
Oh, yeah. Our miners kill a lot of people. I think our motto is like, in Pakistan, miner kills you.
I love that. One of my favorite things to do, which is actually like tremendously harder now ever since Team Talos updated the covert ops frigates to actually have covert ops bonuses. But I used to pretend that I was just an AFK Helios, like at a Celestial somewhere. And then eventually someone would come in and try and kill me in like an interceptor. But I'd be a surprise battle Helios with a whopping 74 DPS. So it would take forever for me to kill someone, but I would eventually do it. And it always was like the most gratifying kill.
I really need to take out more battle herons. That ship is amazing.
It's actually so
in terms
good.
of like surprise bait. I lost a very embarrassing I had a very embarrassing loss to what I thought was an easy heron kill. That was when I learned that they can actually be terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
So battle
All right,
heron all the way.
battle heron all the way. All right, so let's get back on track. Zero. Any fun kills in the past 2 weeks since you've been on?
Oh golly, I had one guy try to jump my Nurgle in I think it was like an Ishtar or something, but he didn't know that I had another Nurgle floating around ready to warp to my main, and so I totally ganged up on him as myself. And I'm one of those fellas. I've never really been into multi-boxing. I don't like playing multiple characters, so this is new territory for me. It's kind of I was proud of that because yeah, I outnumbered you by myself. What do you think of that?
I'm up to 4 now. 0.
I'm really committed. I'm really committed to Zeramis Plague. That's like one story I want to write. I don't want to get sidetracked, but having eyes on stuff never hurts.
Yep. Kylon, anything fun since we don't hear much from you?
Oh, yeah. One of my favorite things to do lately is to bubble up the beacon of a observatory flashpoint that's in the first room. So you put a bubble there, and because it's dead space, everyone gets pulled to the center of the bubble, not to the edge. And it's, cloaked ships get decloaked, and it's a lot of fun. So last night we had a Tengu come in to our bubble, and we killed him.
There you go.
And then we've completed the observatory as well. So there's a lot of I did want to say there does seem to be an increase in PvP around the observatories.
Yep.
And while not everyone likes it, I think it is it's pretty healthy.
It's healthy.
Yep. All right, we'll go with Aurora. Any fun kills you got into on your secret account so you don't have to hide them?
It's not super secret, but I'm trying to think. I just pulled up my kill board. So there was we realized that we had a wormhole to Brave Space while they were evacing. So we're like, let's just go have some fun harassing them while they try to get stuff out. We warped in with what was a pretty decent little gang of really random stuff. Like I was in an armor thorax, but they were not having any of that, and the response was just truly devastating. Apparently, people had been poking them all day, and so I guess this is actually a loss, not a kill. But that happened
happens.
recently. Then the other thing was like we were on a roam, and it was out in Innsmother, and there was just bubbles on every gate. And we're like, well, we're not catching anything, so we might as well get kill mails on the bubbles. And so we spent a solid hour just kind of like shooting random bubbles, which we got some kill mails for. But in the process of shooting bubbles, like one of the locals warped a Kikimora right into the gate, and we got to kill that too. So that was fun.
There you go.
A bonus kill.
Yep. All right, Swift. No boundary violation talks. Have you killed anything recently? Did you go out with less than 10 guys?
I haven't been out with them in a little bit, but I did actually take a Hyperion out, not yesterday, but the day before. Just ESS robbing, because now I'm in like a different time zone, which is super weird to me, by the way. So now I can play at like different times of the day. So I took a Hyperion out. It was like a proper dual rep Hyperion that I just gimped and put a bunch of webs on. Went into an ESS, and I managed to grab a Nightmare. And I guess he thought he was just gonna like kite away from me, but he didn't expect 3 webs. So that was a good kill for me. I felt really good. It took me forever to then get out of the little ESS bubble with my 7 mil in bounty, but I was really proud of the 1 kill. And then I ran away and logged off and haven't logged on yet. I have a feeling there's like a ball of hate waiting for me there. And,
Come on. Everyone loves you. I mean, you love Taylor Swift, right? No, there's probably hate waiting for you. We do rob ESS banks every once in a while. I need to take my Phantasm out with our Caracals, just so I can go in and ring the doorbell for content.
Man,
The
it's super
people,
fun. I watched Large Quave Zero do it, and he makes it look so easy. And Bjornby too as well, but Bjornby makes it look much more difficult because everyone's trying to kill him.
Yep.
But they just make it like so much fun. So I was like, yeah, screw it, let me do it. I usually always die, but I finally got a great kill. And I don't know. I think it's something about how I grew up in EVE Online or like my path through EVE Online where microing reps on like a massively tanked battleship feels so much cooler than any other thing that you can do in the game. Like I don't know what it is, but it just like feels really gratifying to pull it off, not over rep, not burn things out, keep range, kill something, and then like survive. I don't know.
Yep. Nope, it's fun.
this is one. This is one of the reasons it's great to be a Triglavian is when you're robbing banks. Home is always a filament away. It's so easy for us to extract. So I would personally like to thank the Noblox for their contributions to the Triglavian war effort. We appreciate the free ISK. It means everything. Thank you.
All right. Well, it was a fun show. Thank you, CCP Swift and CCP Aurora. It's great. And for all you Triglavians, stay safe in hell space and murder some people that aren't supposed to be there.